In the last video, we printed our first Kotlin message, hello Ghana. Now is the time to store and work with data using variable and constants. So we started with this code. It was hello world. We changed it to hello Ghana. That was our first code that we ran. This is a complete Kotlin application and it contains a lot of information that I need to unpack to you. The first part is this top section. This is called comments. They are notes you leave in your application. They are not meant for the computer. You use them to explain your code or remind yourself what something does. So to create a comment, you start with a /, then a star. Then you can come down depending on how many lines of message you want to write. And then you end it with a star and then another /. So that's how you write a comment. You start with a /, a star, and then end with a star and then a /. Then you can put your message here. So that's how you write a comment. So you can add any amount of messages here. But when you run the application, it will not show on the console. Let's try it out. So as you can see, we are just seeing just this part of the code, but we did not see here, we did not see the top section as well. So it is for leaving notes in your application. Alright, so we have two types of comments. We have multi-line comments. The multi-line comments span more than one line. That's why you can write a message here, write it on a different line in that order. But we have single line comments. So for the single line comments, you use two / and then you write your single line comment. So this is how you write a single line comment. So that one you use two / and then your message follows. Alright, so the next thing to talk about is the fan. This FU fan, all the way to this open curly brackets to the ending curly bracket. So this is a special piece of code and it's required for every Kotlin application. Every Kotlin application must have this fan main open and close brackets and then open and close curly brackets. Because when you press on this run button, Kotlin looks for this special code and then starts running the code from inside this special code that serves as the starting point where your code begins to run. So anytime you run your code, Kotlin looks for this function called main and then start executing or running all the lines of code written inside of this open and close curly bracket. So everything we do in this video will live inside of this block from this curly bracket all the way to the ending curly bracket. Everything we'll do will be in this block. Now the next thing is this println. The println means print line. It shows text on the console. The text inside the quotes is called string. String are for words, sentences, or any text. So in case you want to show any text in your code, you have to put that text within a double quote. It could be a word, it could be a sentence. As long as it is, you have to put it in a double quote. Then it becomes a string. So right now, our program always prints the same message. When we run it, it will print the same hello Mawuli over and over again. But what if we want to store your name, scores, ages, and then print them? That's where variables and then constants comes in. You can give more space so that you write your code. Let's start with something simple. Storing data in Kotlin. Generally, to store something, you need a container to put the thing inside. Think of these containers like boxes. We have two types of boxes in Kotlin. The first one is a seal box. You create it by using VAL, called val. This tells Kotlin that you are about to create a container for storing data. Then followed by the name of the data. So let's say I want to store your age. So I'll just name it age. And then you use equal to put the data inside the container. So let's say my age is 35 and then I'm placing this value inside this box. Now once you create that value, you can print it on the console using the println and then you pass the name you gave to the value. I'll type it here. Now when you run it, you see the message on the screen, which is 35. I can create another variable called name. I'll say Mawuli. I can print that information using the println, then pass the name, which is name. So when I print it, so now we have the age 35 and we also have the name Mawuli. Now, if you try to change this value, let's say my age is 35. By next year, I'll be 36. I want to update it. How do I update it? You would go by the name of the data. So now, if you want to use it, you don't bring the VAL anymore. You just use the name you gave to the data and then you change it to the new value. Now, when we run it, we got an error: val cannot be reassigned. What this means is that you cannot unseal this box. Like I told you, we have two boxes for storing data. The first one is a seal box and the other one is open box. When you use a seal box, it is sealed, so you can't take out what is in it and put a new one in it. It is sealed completely. In order to update this data, then you have to use the open box that you can put different item in it. So to use open box, you use var. So that one's also tell Kotlin you're about to declare a variable, but this variable will allow you to change it. So I'll create a new variable called score and then assign a value of 8 to it. Now, because this one will give us an error, we have to disable it. So to disable it, you can use comment to disable it. When you put the comment here, it will become inactive, and when you run it, it will not affect your code. So our code runs successfully. So now we create a new variable and put it in an open box. So once it is an open box, we can dip our hand into the box, take that value out and put another value there. So let's try it. You use score and then assign a new score of 10. I'll print the score and let's run it. So you can see that our score is 10. So with the help of the open box type of container, we are able to create the container, give it a value, and later change that value to a different value. Here's the difference between the two. If you want to store something that won't change, for example, your name, your birth year, your country, those things will not change about you. So for those ones, you use the val, the seal box. But for things that will change, like score, account balance, you store them in the open box, var, because later you'll be updating it, like your account balance. When you do the dashing or you top up your account, these numbers will keep changing based on your transactions. So for those kind of data, you store them using the var, which is the open box. For best practices when it comes to creating containers for storing your data, it's always advised that you use the seal box until you are very clear that you need to update the data. Stick to using the seal box. This keeps your code safer and avoid surprises. Let's talk about something important: how to name variable, because poorly named variable is like a box with no label. You have no idea what's inside of it. So let's see some naming convention. So the first rule is that you start with lower letters. Secondly, if the variable name has more than one word, write them together, but make each new word start with capital letter. Finally, your variable name should be clear and descriptive. So if your variable name has more than one word, you don't use spaces. The next word must start with capital letter. So we create a variable like full name, and then full name will start with capital letter. So when I said your variable name must be descriptive, you don't create variable like x is equal to 3. You don't do things like this. What does x stand for? So try to describe it clearly. You can say length. Let's talk about data type, the kind of information Kotlin can store. So you realize when I was creating the variables, I stored text in this variable, and then for this one, this is a number. This is different from when I do like this. This is a text, but without the code, it's a number. So we have different types of information in Kotlin. We have a text, which is called string, and then we have numbers. Between the numbers, we have whole numbers, which is represented as int. And then we have fractions or decimal numbers. So numbers with decimal, those ones are called double. And then we have two states type of data called Boolean. So that represents either true or false. And then we have char. So this is for a single character. We've already seen the example of string and then int. So let's try the other one. So the string, this is the string, and then the int, which is a whole number. So let's look at the double. So for the double, we have like account balance. It might be 40 cedis, 50 pesos. So numbers in this form are described as double. And then we have Boolean, which you might say you want to check whether the user is logged in or not. So for such a variable, I can say false. I'm not logged in. So it could be false or true. This type of data has two possible values. It is either true or false. It's like you are asking a question. Is he logged in? If it's yes, then you put true. If it's no, then you put false. The final one is the car, the CARA. So for that one, for example, let's say you want to represent gender with M or F. For that one, you use a single quote and do it this way. So there's a difference between the single quote and then double quote. So the double quote is for strings and then a single quote is for car. So for this one, you put in just one character. You can't use multiple characters. So when I do this and I run it, our app will crash. You see, so there's error here. It's a variable unused. But the problem we are interested in, too many characters in a character literal. So these are the basic data type you have to remember. Don't stress over memorizing all of them right now. As you continue to program, they will stick. So you might be asking, how does Kotlin tell that this is a double, this is a Boolean, this is a car, and all that? So here is the thing. There's something we call type inference. Kotlin is so intelligent that it is able to tell the kind of data you put in the container based on the value. When you put false in this container, Kotlin automatically identify this container as a Boolean, and you can actually specify the data type. So to clearly specify the data type, right in front of the container name, you bring column and then you specify the data type, say double. For the Boolean here, to specify it, you say what? A column and then you bring Boolean. So you can specify the data type in front of the variable. So when we run it, we got no error. The data type always starts with capital letter. So pay attention to that. Don't use small double. For example, when you do it and you run it, you get error. So let's do a quick exercise together. Let's print our personal information. So inside the main function, you create a variable to store your name, your age, your school, and whether you are a student or not. So I'm giving you 15 seconds to finish. All right, so let's do it together. So I'll create a val. I'll say student name. The age, I'll say, and then I'll specify the data type just for practicing. Then I'll say Kofi is 24 years. So the school will be a test. So I'll say string KNUST. I'm determining whether you are still in school or not. So it's student. And then I'll specify the type Boolean. And I'll say true. You are still a student. Now we can print that information. You can say print lane. So I'll say name. So I'll copy the same thing and print. And now I'll pass student name. Student name. So I'll repeat the same for the other values. So we have name, we have age, and I'll change it to student age. And then I'll change this one to school. And then I'll say school. And then finally, I'll say is a student. And then I'll print is student. So when we run it, yeah, so I have name as Kofi, age 24, school KNUST, is a student, true. Let's recap real quick. So you use val for value that won't change. Then you use the var if you want to update it later. So store text with string, store whole numbers with int, store fractions or decimal numbers with double. And if the situation is true or false, you use a Boolean. And for a single character, you use a char. Subscribe and drop comments below. Try the quick practice that we did and print your name and your age. Let's see if you got it.